Greetings everybody, John Tyre here. This is my channel WikiGameGuides, and in this video I have, well, I'm going to share all my impressions from this preview session of For Honor that I got to play, and this is the first single-player campaign, the first single-player hands-on time that is out there on the internet right now. This is level 1.5, it's called Sabotage, and I'm playing as the Mercy class. And they describe her as efficient. She doesn't want to waste any movement or words. She's a natural predator. So this is a stealth mission, but none of it is really stealth in the traditional Ubisoft Splinter Cell sense. But this level does not consist of any huge, like large battles with hundreds of people running around. It's much more, it's just a lot of smaller battles with 2 or 3 enemies at a time, sneaking around this base and setting a whole bunch of stuff on fire. This Viking base, I believe. Anyway, when you first start playing multiplayer, however, in For Honor, you choose a faction to fight for, earning points for that faction with every multiplayer victory. And now it doesn't limit who you can play with or anything like that. It's purely cosmetic changes in the faction war. But I was curious, and let me know in the comments which faction you're going to choose to fight for. The Knights, the Vikings, or the Samurai. And I believe you can change once. And it's cross-platform as well. I'll get more into my multiplayer impressions after I get through all my single-player impressions. But anyway, let me know which faction you're going to choose, because I'm very curious to see your guys' opinion about which faction is going to be best. Anyway, and please give the video a like as well. It helps me out a lot to spread the word of WikiGameGuides and help me continue to make lots of good videos like this. So there's 3 campaigns, one for each faction in For Honor. The Knight campaign, Viking, and Samurai. And it reminds me a lot of how the campaign is structured in Starcraft, because you play through all of the different, because you just kind of slightly progress with one faction for a while, and then you change to the other faction and do their whole story, and then the next faction and do their whole story. And it also kind of, the structure of this also reminds me of Mortal Kombat. And for a while now, I've been trying to decide whether this game is a fighting game or it is a Dark Souls melee style game. And I think it's really both, because it's weapon focused. But it's like, this is really unlike any other game I've ever played before. So the reason I say that this campaign, to me, the little bit that I got to play feels like Mortal Kombat, is because if you remember in the Mortal Kombat single player campaign, you got to play and learn. Like the Mortal Kombat campaign was a great introduction to learning all of the different characters in the game without, like, you know, forcing you to become a master of Scorpion and Sub-Zero and Liu Kang and Shang Tsung and Quan Chi and like all those other different characters. It just gave you like a little bit of a taste so you could understand how those characters work when you get into multiplayer. So that move that you might have just seen me there with Mercy is one of my favorite moves in the game. She's using a sai. No, I'm sorry, not a sai. She's using like a dagger and a sword. Mercy is one of the more, she's like the faster, lightweight kind of counter-attacking class. And she has this ability, like one of her special moves, in every character has their own set of combos, their own blocking style, their own movement speed. I mean, like every single class, not just every single faction, but every single class within each faction is quite different from one another. And so the single player, like I was saying, is just a great way to learn the basics of all these different classes and learn their strengths and weaknesses, so when you do jump into multiplayer, you'll have a much better idea of how these different classes work and how to counter them when you're on the battlefield. So 2 moves I want to point out. A second ago, this is something I learned during this preview event, you can actually cancel out of heavy attacks. So if you don't know the basic controls of this game, there's a light attack, which is on R1 or RB. There's a heavy attack, which is on the right trigger. And then there's also, there's like, you have to choose which direction to attack, which direction to block, and like there's counters and a lot of complicated combat in this game. and like shove moves and stuff like that. But you can cancel out of a heavy, very slow attack if you think that the other enemy is gonna, if they're blocking the right direction, and kind of hit the heavy attack, cancel, and then change, and then hit heavy again and change direction. It's a really complicated kind of stutter move that I'm really hoping it is effective in the multiplayer modes right now, because I know that this game, well, it's not even out yet, so people haven't had a chance to really learn what to look for when it comes to canceling slow attacks. And it's not super helpful with the fast classes like this that have super fast heavy attacks in the first place, compared to some of the tank classes where it takes, you know, a second and a half to do a huge overhand, two-handed, like mace swing kind of thing. Like one of the new classes, let me see if I can find the name, the Shoguki, Shoguki, he's this huge fat dude that, like, he basically has an entire tree trunk that he just swings at people for the samurai class, and using that heavy cancel with that is super effective. Anyway, that attack there, that is Mercy's, like, one of her special abilities that does damage over time, and you grab them, and then it's very difficult actually to time the 3 follow-up attacks perfectly, and you do 3 quick stabs with the left hand, like right into the gut, and if you get 1 or 2 stabs, it doesn't do nearly as much damage if you time all 3 attacks perfectly after grabbing them. And it's a great, like, hit and run ability, because you can just jump in, grab, stab, 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 run away, and then, like, hopefully let another teammate finish him off, or you know, maybe you have like a ranged attack unlocked or something like that. Anyway, so I'm in revenge mode right now, which means that none of my attacks or if they block any of my attacks, I will not be staggered. And it's like, if you're in revenge mode is built up when you block enemy attacks. So specifically in multiplayer, if you are if it's a 2-on-1 fight and you're just blocking enemies left and right, it's a great way to, well, hopefully survive a very difficult 2-on-1 situation. One of the very interesting things about this game, compared to many multiplayer games, is it is extraordinarily difficult to win a 2-on-1 fight. There are blocking mechanisms in this game that let you block to the left or the right when you are focused on one person in front of you. So you see right now, I was focused on the guy immediately in front of me, and if you hit right or left while you're locked on, in addition to blocking the person immediately in front of you, you can block and deflect to the left or the right. So kind of like, I don't know, Jackie Chan out of you know, like a cheesy old kung fu movie where he's like taking on 10 guys at once. You can actually kind of sort of pull that off in this game. I doubt it's going to work very effectively at the higher levels of combat, or the higher levels of the ladder and the leaderboard in multiplayer for this game. But anyway, it is possible. Mercy's blocks, her blocking mechanisms, and every character's blocking mechanisms are slightly different. And so Mercy is one of the more complicated ones, the character that I'm playing right now. When you're locked onto someone, you press up, bottom left or bottom right to block in that direction. And with her, it's not, you can't just hold it and block in that direction forever. It kind of slowly dissipates. So you can't just, she is a counterattacker. You'll see, if it's hard to see, but you'll notice, like, when I press up to block their attack, the little white bar indicating that direction, it kind of slowly shrinks in from the side. Whereas the heavier classes, they can just block up forever. It never shrinks or anything like that. Oh, a collectible. There are collectibles in single player. They, I don't know what they unlock. I know that if you look in the top right, there is an experience bar for single player. When you level up, when you get enough experience, you unlock new feats. Feats is their word for skills. It might as well just be replaced by the word skill. At the beginning of this, I couldn't show the menu, unfortunately, in this game. Usually they don't want you to show the menu at these preview sessions because the menus tend to change a lot as the game development goes on. And you choose 2 different feats, skills, for every single player mission. Right now I have Second Wind level 2 selected, which recovers a large amount of health, and that's just based on just a cooldown timer. And also I have a passive skill called Precision Strikes chosen, where all my attacks deal 10% more damage. And those feats are just activated by hitting left or right on the D-pad. You'll see them in the bottom left of the screen as well, right above my stamina meter. Or no, I'm sorry, that's my revenge meter, not my stamina meter. The stamina meter is the green bar underneath my health, right above my character. So stamina, it doesn't... Oh, before I get into stamina, I'm going to continue to talk about blocking and my impressions. It's blocking, man, it's very hard to do in this game. It's hard to time. Every character that you're fighting has different attack animations, so not only is it hard to do, but you have to learn. Like, I believe that over time, if you play enough of this game, you'll be able to recognize what direction someone is attacking just by their movement and not necessarily by what the on-screen HUD shows you. And in fact, I would love to see a hardcore mode in this game eventually that completely eliminates all health bars and the blocking Triforce. Sure, I just made that up right now. Let's call it the blocking Triforce. Like a hardcore mode that removes all that, so that you have to rely purely on your instincts and what you see. That would be really, really freaking cool. I wonder if they're going to do that. I know, I noticed as I was clicking through some of the menus in the game that it seems like they've built in quite a few very hardcore competitive features into the multiplayer. Specifically, they added, or I saw listed a draft mode. Similar, well, I would assume similar to like League of Legends or Dota or one of those, any other MOBA, where both teams draft their characters. There's only one of each class choosable, so that, like, let's say there aren't 5 Mercies on one team or something like that. And presumably you can also ban specific characters that the other class or that the other team cannot use, which would be really freaking cool if for the higher level competitive stuff. Again, making this more like, they seem to be kind of slow playing this game as a super hardcore competitive fighting game, as more of just kind of like a fun sword and shield game. So my final impressions about single player. Multiplayer is where this game is going to shine. You've probably noticed quite a few times during my single player impressions, I've been distracted and started talking about how, like, different multiplayer features in this game, and that's because this game is really a multiplayer focused game. The single player is fun. The voice acting in the cutscene seems okay. Now, I believe they said that there's going to be a new trailer, a new story trailer that comes out today. But the quality of the lip sync and the facial animations are they're just not great. Many faces are completely covered, like you see there. Animations where the faces are not, that are not covered, feel like they're from a PlayStation 2 game. Like, the lip sync is just way off. And it's a very odd thing for me to focus on right now, but it's incredibly jarring when you do see it in their pre-rendered cutscenes. So that doesn't mean that the single player won't be fun or anything. It's just, to me, it just seems like they focus so much more time and energy on multiplayer that I would not get this game purely if you're looking for a single player experience, like Dark Souls or something like that.
Impressive.
Anyway, thanks for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for more For Honor videos. I got a couple more planned from this previous edition. Thanks for watching, and game on.